Hey there kickers, and welcome to Kick the Table, keeping you up to date with Kickstarter campaigns in the tabletop games category. Today we are looking at Monstrous, which is up on Kickstarter, coming from Secret Base Games and Good Game Publishing. Let's take a look at how it plays, and then we'll come back around for final thoughts. Okay, so before we get going with Monstrous, I just want to point out that this is a prototype copy of the game. Most of the components here look pretty similar to what the final version is going to look like, but it's not. There's a few cards that don't have the final art on them, and I'll try and point those out if I see them, but just this game is beautiful. The illustrations are really nice, so all the ones that don't look quite right are probably not the final one, I guess is what I'm getting at. Okay, cool. So starting a game of Monstrous, you're going to take 5 locations out of this beautiful deck of locations, and you're going to create the world that you're going to be fighting over. Each one of these locations has a number of faith that it generates in the corner. It's got a name and it's got a special power, and they're all just really nice. Show a couple there. Alright, cool. The other thing you're going to get, everybody is going to get a deck of these monster cards. These are the monsters you're going to be chucking down on the puny mortals to try and get them to generate the faith that they can for their location. And again, these are just beautifully illustrated. And they're actually double-sided, so they've got a generic power on one side that everybody gets, and then they've got this special ability that is unique to that individual monster. Everybody gets the same set of monsters, and everybody will discard the same set at the start of the game. There's a process for dealing with that that I'm not going to go into just at the minute. So, on your turn, what are you going to do? You get these handy-dandy reference cards that explain your turn. It's pretty simple. We're going to start by picking one of the monsters out of our hand. I'm going to pick the giant. You get to pick which side you want to sort of throw it from. I want to try and get the unique power of the giant. And then you're going to, from off the table, chuck it and try and hit a location. So in this particular case, I've hit Olympia. I actually really wanted to try and hit Athens. Let me give that another go. Oh no, I'm terrible. Look, I hit Athens. I'm amazing. Okay, so then what are we going to do? After you've thrown your monster, you are going to trigger any trap cards. There aren't any on the table, so I'll explain that in a minute. You trigger any monster powers. In the case of the giant, it says gain 1 location's faith. So the number of faith that Athens produces is 3. Faith is kind of your currency of the game. It's the thing you want to do to try and win. You get these handy-dandy tokens for dealing with it in a number of different denominations. So I will get 3 faith, and I'm on my way to victory. The next thing we're going to do is trigger the location power. The location power for Athens says draw a card or gain a faith. Now locations are going to get covered up a lot in this game, and other monsters will as well, so the reference sheet actually has a list of all the locations and what their powers are, so you can see all of them there, and the monsters are on the back as well. So you're never trying to pick things up and see under them and try and read, which is a nice touch. So this says draw a card or gain a faith. I'm going to choose to draw a card and add it to my hand. And the next thing we do is we just gain the location's faith. So although I did it with the giant's power, you're going to do it every time you hit a location. So in this case I hit that location, I'll get 3 more faith and add it to my little player area there. Cool. Now if you've got an extra throw, you get to do that. I don't, but you can earn extra throws with different powers and things. Then you draw a card and end the turn. So that's it, that's the end of my turn. Now I'm going to hand over to the blue player, and they're going to have their turn, and they're going to go through the same set of steps. So they'll have a hand of creature cards, monsters. They will pick one. I'm going to select the harpy, and they're going to fling it down on the puny mortals. Man, I'm suck at this today. Ah, oh, come on. Last go. Yeah, alright. So, in this particular case, I have hit the giant, and I've hit Athens. So what's going to happen? Well, again, going back to our reference card, any trap powers will activate. Again, there aren't any yet. Monster powers will activate. The harpy says, take 2 faith from 1 monster's god. Alright, very cool. Next, the location power. The location power says draw a card or gain a faith. In this case, I'm going to gain a faith. Got to go back to the bag. There we go. Then the locations faith, which in this case is just another 3 faith. And then any extra throws, there aren't any, then draw 1 card and end the turn. So the blue player had a very successful turn, they're going to draw a card, and now it's back to me, the green player again. So we're going to do this backwards and forwards until somebody runs out of cards. Then we're going to add up all of our faith. There's additions and subtractions based on the number of monsters you've still got, or the monsters that you've thrown out onto the board, and whoever's got the most faith is going to be the winner. So, some of the other cool stuff that's out here. I'm supposed to have a Gorgon in here somewhere. Here we go. Okay, so I mentioned before one of the first things that happens in a turn is a trap. And these cards actually have a red label on them, so you can visibly see them very easily on the board. In this case, the Gorgon says discard any monster that hits Gorgon. So say I throw the Gorgon out onto Olympia, and then the blue player, on their turn, decides to throw the dragon. And they also manage to hit Olympia, but they hit my Gorgon. So, if you look at the card, it actually says, throw the monster, and then the trap activates. So the text on the Gorgon says, discard the monster. So this guy, the dragon that I just threw, goes into the discard pile of the blue player. Even though it says, discard hit monsters, we never actually got to the monster power on the player aid. So the dragon doesn't activate, you gain no faith for it, so the Gorgon acts as like this radiator, this area where people don't want to go. That's pretty much it in terms of Monstrous. There is the special location, Tartarus, which lets you draw a monster from the legendary deck. These are the cards that don't have their art finalized yet, but they will look amazing, I promise you, because everything else does. So there is just a collection of these legendary creatures which all have some really strong effect. In this case, like the Kraken, everybody is going to get 2 tentacles, and they're going to go release the Kraken, and everybody's going to chuck out stuff on the board at once. Anything that those tentacles touch is going to be destroyed. Lots of fun, great way to get everybody standing up at the table and just laughing raucously. Let's get to the final thoughts. So, Monstrous, what do I think? I got to meet Kim, the designer of Monstrous, at PAX Australia last year, and he demoed the game. And he walked up to me and he said something like, "You're a Greek god, hurling monstrous creatures down on the faithless mortals to try and get them to run back into the temples and pray." And I was sold immediately, like I just wanted to try this game. And what followed was a game that managed to carry that theme all the way through. Everything about the components and the gameplay made me feel like a Greek god, hurling creatures down on the faithless mortals. And it was so much fun. I immediately came home and threw away all my chairs because I will now only stand and throw cards down on the table whenever I play any game. All of the artwork is very nice, the components are beautiful, everything is just really nicely done and well polished. Like I said, the gameplay carries the theme really well. There's a certain amount of tactics and physical ability in just being able to hit the thing that you want to be able to hit it at, but it's not all that physical ability. There's also a certain amount of strategy involved in selecting the right creatures, deciding where you want to, monsters, and then deciding where you want to throw them such that it will get you the best turn that you can possibly get. And if you're terrible at throwing cards like I am, how can you line up a throw so that if you miss, you'll probably hit something else that's good, which frequently happens. It's a game that everybody standing around the table is kind of, they're rooting for you on your turn, even when they're competing with you. They want to see those amazing throws that just pull off these ridiculous combinations of things. It's a lot of fun. It's got about a week left on Kickstarter. I highly recommend you check it out. That's Monstrous. That's all from me. See you next time on Kick the Table.